the answers are in front of you, but like you just have to be, you have to not be so close-minded that you just ignore them, and that's what most people do.
Malibu.
My name is Maestro Harell. I'm an actor, producer, rapper, singer. I like to just call myself an artist, all-around artist. I've been in LA. I moved out in LA 2009, and I moved out I was 17 going on 18. So I've been out here going on 9 years. And no, I love it. I mean, I'm from Chicago, Southside Chicago. Literally until I was 17 years old, I moved around, lived in Baltimore, lived in Atlanta, but grew up in Chicago. That was home base. And yeah, it's, you know, it's completely different, but obviously LA is where you have to be. Like this is where the industry is. This is where the opportunity is. This is where the people you need to connect with are. Like, you know what I mean? There's only limited things you can do in a, you know, Midwestern city, or only so far you can go until you want to hit that next level. So it was cool. Like, it was different than most kids because my parents put me in like music, you know, acting, all this kind of stuff when I was like 3 years old, 3 years old. Like my dad would sign me up for piano lessons before I was even like out my mom's stomach, like crazy shit. And so I didn't have the typical Chicago experience because I was always busy. Like ever since I was like 3, 4, 5, like 5 years old, I was like on set shooting commercials. I was traveling out to LA to be on Jay Leno. I was doing blah blah blah. But I was still going to public elementary school while doing all this shit. So it's like my parents found a dope way to keep me grounded, but also have me out experiencing the world and seeing things that, you know, like you're from Southside Chicago don't see. You know what I mean? So yeah, so it was like my Chicago experience is definitely different than the typical, like, my parents didn't just have me outside. Like, it was like, you know what I mean? I always had somewhere to be, somewhere, you know, something to be doing, and that just, I think that's why I even had a work ethic I have now, because, like, that was embedded early. Like, you don't just sit around, you know, you get shit done, and it keeps you out of trouble. So music came first. So they named me Maestro. That's my birth name. And from there, it was piano lessons, vocal lessons. And once I got about 4 or 5, no, I won't say 4. People were just like, yo, your kid's like, you have a cute kid. You should put him in like, you know, modeling, like commercials and all that kind of stuff. So then my parents were like, all right, let's figure this out. And they started, you know, sending out stuff to, sending out headshots to agencies, like how you had to do it back in the day before internet and all that kind of shit. And yeah, and they legit figured that shit out. Like, so, like, I don't know, it's baffling to me still how they did it, because I'm like, damn, like, because they're not in the industry at all. They're, you know, obviously we were in the Midwest. There was no internet. Like, it's just different, you know. But yeah, they figured that shit out, and then I want to, like, what really spawned everything was I did the Be Like Mike commercial. I did that when I was 5 or 6, and I had done other things prior that people had seen, but like that was the one that like really set everything off because that campaign was so big, you know. And so yeah, went from that, and then from there, I got my own television show that came on UPN back in the day. It was called Guys Like Us. What else? So much shit. Then I did The Lion King, the play. Did that, and then went from that, and then I got signed because the whole time I was doing all this, I was still like performing around Chicago. I was still like working with like different companies and doing like, you know, all that kind of stuff. But once I hit 13, I got signed to Def Jam. I got signed to Jermaine Dupri. Actually, Virgin first. It was Virgin Records first. But he was over at Virgin, and then I spent like a year and a half living with him and Janet Jackson, and that was like what started the like second half of the music career. Yeah. Michael Jordan was like one of the coolest, like he was just great. Like, he was super, and you gotta remember, I was a 6-year-old kid from Chicago, so that was really like, what the hell? Like, this is Michael Jordan. That's like, he's the guy. Like, still, he's the guy, you know? But he was super friendly, super, like, I'll show you some stuff too. Like, I got B-roll of like just me and Jordan, like, just chopping it up, and like, I'm just talking to him. He's like dying, laughing, cracking up and stuff. Like, just really nice guy. Signed a basketball for me when it was all over. Even called my dad out because I've never really had like stage parents. My parents were always like, they put me in all this for me. It wasn't for them. Like they were like, nah, like we just want to make sure you have something that you can do and that you're talented at and you can build at. So literally, Jordan called, like he was like, yeah, he was like, where's his father? And literally called my dad out and was like, hey man, like did a great job raising him. And mind you, it's like I'm sure even for my dad, they was like, damn, what the hell? Like I didn't expect to just be chopping it up with Michael Jordan today. But yeah, he was like really nice, really it couldn't be a nicer guy, especially in the position that he was in, and especially because you know how with kids that leaves an impact. Like how someone you look up to treats you when you're 6, like that shit leaves a long lasting impact. And he definitely was like, it's an experience I can talk about and be very happy and be like, yeah, no, Michael Jordan was cool, it's pretty crazy. No ID has by far been one of the people who has helped me out like the most, especially in my music career. Anyone, like, not only have I been able to watch him produce and like see what he does, and he's always like, he's one of the kind of people who will just hit me up and we'll just go talk about plugins or like, like how we do X, Y, and Z, like, cause he's a total like production nerd like me, so it's like fun. But the funny thing is, coming from Chicago, like if you live in Chicago, you kind of know, like, I've always been like a real, even from like a really young age, like on the South Side, like a local celebrity. Like people always knew Lil Maestro, who had the, like, you know what I mean, like that kind of thing. So like Dion, No ID, Dion, like he knew like who I was even from a young age. I met him probably even when I was like probably 9 or something through a mutual friend. Then when I signed to Jermaine, the crazy part was he was signed to Jermaine. And so I would see him around down in Atlanta. And it was like, oh, okay, word that out. Then when I moved to LA, he was like, he had just moved. Yeah, he had just moved really out here like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And then my boy Ty, he put us in the studio together and just like we got to chop it up and like actually like kick it. And I was a little bit older, so then we could actually. And yeah, man, and literally like ended up playing on the song called Locomotive on the Nas Life Is Good album. Even scored a Rihanna perfume commercial through like that whole situation. And then on top of that, it's great because whenever I have new music or anything, it's like I go to him, hey, I got this going on, here's the plan, this is what I'm trying to do, whoop, whoop. And then you can't get better guidance than that. And going back to also, he don't make the kind of rap beats or anything that every other producer does. So going back to being in rooms, it's like it's a different sound that like fortunately I've been able to see, be a part of, and like like be privy to, which most people aren't. You know what I mean? Like he's the go to that shit. You know what I mean? So like and like I said, and he gave me like a studio when I didn't even have like a studio space for real. And just always been in my corner, always watching and believes in it. So gotta always say thank you for that. March 23rd, I dropped the first EP of the new project. It's called, the EP is called Wave God. All self-produced, 100%. Dropped 2 videos as well. Go check those out. One for the record, Which One Which. Other for the record, Woke Up. And then dropped another video. It's like a Super Mario inspired video, for the Malibu joint. And so, which is dope because the Malibu is actually like out of all the records, that one's just organically climbing fast because it just has the right vibe. I spell it Wave God, WAVGOD instead of WAVE. Did that because obviously a music file is called a wave, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then 2, that's like my whole like shit, like being wavy at all times, being fly, because also like even in my music you'll hear like I will never sit here and be like, nah man, I'm a hood nigga, I'll be shooting nigga. Not that guy, like that's not what I'm about. But I am about partying, getting money, and getting bitches and being wavy. You know what I mean? So it's like that's what I feel like encompasses it. You know what I mean? Like and they're both three letters. It's just goes nicely together. It's more of, to me, it's more of a lifestyle and a thought process than just like a name. You know, it's like he's the god of wave. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everyone wants to ride a wave, everyone wants to find their wave, and I'm just the god of all waves. I'm like Poseidon. It was like 2013. I was at Hakkasan in Vegas. We was having dinner. It was like me, my boy Zeko, Tiesto, and my boy Zeko was like, yo, you gotta, I'm bringing this kid from Canada. He's super dope. His name's The Weeknd. And blah, blah, blah. And at the time, I wasn't super familiar with like all his stuff. Like, I knew my friend, like, one of his songs. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, it's cool. Met him, super nice guy, whatever. And so we're all just sitting there eating dinner, whatever. And then midway through, like, talking to Tiesto, he just stops and he goes, yo, were you on The Wire? I go, yeah. And he goes, bro, that's one of my favorite. Reaches across the table, daps me up, do whatever. We end up going to the club. My boy Zeko ends up get like The Weeknd and Tiesto DJ like back to back, which is like some crazy shit, because also he wasn't The Weeknd yet, so it's like some real prime before you blow up type shit. And we just like, we kicked it. He like gave me his number and everything. It was like, yo, hit me up, whatever. Like, huge fan, like blah blah blah. And like, that was crazy. Then I had another situation where I was working out a No ID studio, one of his studios. He gave me a room. Like, by the way, shout out to him. He gave me a room when like I didn't have like a house to produce out of, and you know, in an apartment they were like knocking on the fucking the walls and shit. Like, hey, but anyway, yeah. So he let me work out a studio, and I had this little room upstairs in one of his studios, and his engineer came up and was like, hey, there's this kid downstairs, and he's like super talented, but we were talking about TV shows. He's a huge Wire fan, but like, you know, I want you to like, I didn't tell him you were up here. I want you to just like walk down and surprise him. So I walk downstairs. I walk in, and it's this redheaded kid, and he's like, gets super red, and he's just like, holy shit. Like, I was like, hey, how you doing, man? I'm Maestro. He's like, I'm Ed. I'm like, hey, man. It was like, nice meeting you, blah, blah, blah. He's like, man, is it cool if we take a picture? I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. That man is now Ed Sheeran. Like, same thing happened with David Guetta too, which was crazy. But like, I say that to say, it's like, those were for sure, like, when I think of crazy experiences, just because what they also showed me, why I like him so much, was just the fact of, you know what's dope? You were building, and you already loved me for something. And I obviously now, like, they make fucking hits. I respect the shit out of what they do too. Love them for what they do. But like, it's still just the fact of like, if you knew who I was before anyone even really knew who you were, then that just means that I'm on the right track, because y'all definitely was on the right track. And so, and yeah, and like I say, it was dope too, because they were like, it's dope to see somebody who you, especially later, that you end up realizing like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, I'm a huge fan of what you do because you're like really good at it, but it's like, you also see how that can get lost in translation, because if I didn't know what they were doing, how the fuck I expect people to always know what I'm doing? So, it's just a good life lesson. I think what makes me rare is like, my goal isn't, I don't want to be, well, I'm not gonna say I don't want to be, but like, my goal isn't to be the biggest rapper in the world. My goal isn't to be the biggest actor in the world. My goal isn't, you know, to be the richest person in the world. Like, my goal is to be a household name that maybe people don't really even understand how I make all my money. And that's why I always like using Puff as an example. Like, he's just hit a point now where like, no one asks what Diddy does. He's Diddy. He does a bunch of shit, and he does a lot of shit that makes a lot of money and does it well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of same with Pharrell. Like, you don't ask now, like, oh, so what's Pharrell doing? Well, I know he's doing something. He's making some songs. He's doing some soundtracks. He's doing a bunch of shit, making chairs and shit. You know what I mean? Making clothes. Like, but so that's what I think it is. Like, I just want to be a household name with a household name with a resume or not even resume, a body of work that by the time I'm 50, I can sit here and be like, yeah, like I've been doing this for like 50 years. Or not 50, I would be able to say I've been doing it for 42 or 44, something like that. And then write books and, you know, go talk to people about how they can get to where I've gotten and like shed knowledge on that and be that. Like that's what I think, like that's what I want to get out of it. And I think what makes me rare is the fact that, like I said, it's exposure. It's exposure, and I have a different kind of work ethic. So like there's a lot of people who are exposed to a lot, but their work ethic might not be the same as mine. So it's kind of just like, oh yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff and I see what's possible, but I'm gonna just do this and work on. With me, it's like, don't show me what's possible, because I'll figure out how to do it, and I'll figure out how to do it better than you. Like facts. And that's just what it is. Because if I want to do that, that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm well rounded at enough things if it's entertainment. You know what I mean? If it's entertainment based. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what makes me rare. And I think that comes in a lot with the acting as well. Like being able to not only imitate what you see, but also being able to imitate what you hear, being able to imitate. But then on top of that, actually knowing what you're doing, so then you put your own spin on it. So then it's just like, well, that's just Maestro. You know what I mean? Like, and that's it. So I think it is. My biggest thing would be stay out of your own way. Like, you don't know how many artists I come across. And mind you, I only notice it because I've done this before. It's just, fortunately, I did it when I was probably like 14 or like 16. But like, yeah, stay out of your own way. You don't know everything. You actually don't know shit because you're on the come up, right? So you can have your own opinions, and you should definitely not listen to just any jackass or anyone who doesn't have your best interest at heart. No. And go with your gut, because usually your gut is right, but don't get in your own way. And I feel like a lot of artists do that, just based on, like I was saying earlier, like whether it's song selection or it's like, yeah, everyone wants me to do this, but I think blah, blah, blah. And like people don't, like, you don't know enough yet. You don't. Like, it's not possible for you to. Like, because I don't. I know I've probably been doing it a lot. Like, it's just that's it. Yeah, just don't get in your own way. Always look at things for what is the end goal, what is the end thing I can get out of this, and what is the bigger picture. You know, yes, at some point maybe you'll be in a position where you can nitpick over the smallest amount of money, or you can nitpick over, I don't want to do this, because also most of the statements we start with are, nah, I don't want to do that, because like I feel like people don't really like when what's the key word? You feel like. It's not what it's about, how you feel. Do your homework. Look at what works. Look at what doesn't. Look at other people in your lane. Look at what works. Look at what doesn't. If everything you're hating on has a lot of views and seems like it's working, then maybe you need to either not be in this business or fix your fucking head about what you need to be doing. The answers are in front of you, but like you have to not be so closed-minded that you just ignore them. And that's what most people do. So yeah, that would be my only advice. Just stay out of your own way. Stay focused. And on top of that, you're not boo fucking who. Someone works harder than you. I feel like I work so hard, but guess what? Boo fucking who. Someone works harder than me. And that's just what it is. So get to work. You know what I mean? Maestro. I got a bitch out in Malibu. She do what I said with no attitude.